Hello again, Steve here with a few comments on what I'm going to call customer service, good customer service, or optimal or better customer service, you might say. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because it's rather opportune. I was asked if I'd do a presentation at a conference tomorrow on basically membership in these non-profit clubs. And you might ask, well, why would I talk about customer service if this is about membership? Well, I mean, that's just another word, right? It's just another term for the same thing. I mean, think about it. If people want to join a club, it's because they're going to get value out of it. And you could think of them as customers if you want, or not. But in the end, it doesn't matter what we call it. If somebody goes into a store wanting to get something, if they don't get what they want, they might not go back, or they might not have a good opinion, or they might not buy something. It's the same with membership in a club. If people are not getting what they want out of the experience, then they're not going to stay very long, or they're not going to join, or something like that, right? Now, why would somebody ask me to give this presentation? Well, I've done a little bit of this through Toastmasters, quite a bit actually. Coached a couple of clubs back from the brink, and have been involved with membership executive role for a while. I've done this presentation a few times before, so this is a bit of a follow-up presentation of people who are already working in that field, and they want a little bit of feedback, more feedback, and this is sort of a second round conference. Now, the reason I want to do this is just to help put across the process that I go through when somebody asks me to do a presentation of this sort, because I'm trying to help others gain some sort of value out of the experience. It's not about me necessarily just deciding what I want to do. It's not just about what I want to do. Yes, I want to do it, but if I just do what I want to do only, maybe nobody else cares about that, right? So I have to incorporate what is it that people want. So I have to be flexible in that case, because the length of this presentation or this event that I have, the slot that I have, is 45 minutes. I have 45 minutes to help elevate people's confidence and information and knowledge in a certain field. So my question is, how best to do this? These are not novices. These are people who are working in this field already. So I'm not going to belabor them with just a whole bunch of blah blah from me. I'm not going to just stand up there for 45 minutes. I mean, I could, but that might not be what they want. I mean, think about it. If you go into a store and you're looking for some sort of customer service satisfaction, you've bought this piece of gadget which is junk or whatever, and you want some satisfaction, you want a refund, it repaired or whatever, and all you get is just a barrage of information from the person at the other side of the bench, and you have no chance to actually give any input as to explain what it is that your problem is or whatever, that wouldn't be very great, would it? Well, that would be akin to me probably going up there and just talking to a bunch of people for 45 minutes. It just, verbal diarrhea basically for 45 minutes about what I want to talk about. No, that doesn't make any sense. These are mature people who've come there to learn something, and of course there's other people in the room who've got probably a lot more experience than I do. My approach then, I've decided, will probably be along the lines of a facilitation of a discussion. I say probably because I'm going to leave that up to them to help me decide that, help us decide that, because once again, this is a second round thing. These are not novices, and I want to make sure that the most value is there for the most people in the room. I'm just checking my notes here because I'm not as prepared as I should be for this, because this is the early stages of me preparing this. So I just made a couple of notes as to what I'm going to include in the process of preparation for this presentation. So I'm going to decide to ask them. I'm going to facilitate, probably, and I'm going to have a whiteboard. I have one right behind me here. You can probably see the bottom of it right here. And if there's not one on the wall, I'll bring that along just in case there's not one on the wall. Because we'll have some brainstorming sessions as to what works, what doesn't work, and these sorts of things. Comments from people who've come in, that's also very important, is to find out what it is that the customer is actually saying. Are you polling that? Are you tracking that somehow? And of course, hopefully the discussion will go in a direction of, are we open-minded to change? Because the definition of insanity by whoever said it, which was pretty genius before, was keeping on doing the same thing and expecting different results. If we're not getting the results we want, we got to be prepared to change. We got to be prepared to change everything, right? In fact, I had this discussion with a guy, a family member of mine not long ago, about the education system, right? And his approach was that, you know, the people within the system really care about the children. And my question was then, are you prepared to burn the whole thing down, right? Well, of course not. Well, then that's not really caring, then, is it? Because in a brainstorming session or in a chit-chat or a facilitation of discussion, everything has to be open. And if we're not open to the whole thing being torn down and rebuilt, then we're not really open to the potential for real change. We have our biases, we have our sacred cows, we have our holy grails that we're going to leave off here and we're not going to touch. Right? Another story I had once that I was talking to another guy, was about another guy that I was talking to one time, a long time ago, about the Bible, about his Christianity, and he was very fundamentalist. And he was always set about trying to prove the actual historical correctness of all that was said in the Bible. And I asked him, I said, are you open-minded in these discussions? And he was of the mind that yes, he was open-minded. I said, well, okay, then are you prepared to say that that Bible is fallible? Oh no, it's not fallible. Well, then you're not open-minded, right? Because open-mindedness in a discussion means that we have to be prepared to suspend our biases, to suspend what we think is correct, right? Because if we want somebody to join our club, to buy our products or whatever, and they're not, we have to be prepared to admit that maybe we're doing something wrong, right? Yes, maybe the customer is wrong. That's true. Maybe the customer is wrong. But what can we do about that? It's easier to change our own minds than to change other people's minds. So I think we have to be prepared to do that. And this, I'm going to try to bring out these approaches in these notions and get people going in the discussion about these important things, right? Another thing I want to do is tell a story. Stories are powerful because everybody has different ways of learning. Some people, I was reading this book one time about different ethnicities and different peoples around the world and how it is that they learn. And apparently the Japanese people, especially Japanese men, I don't know if this is true, but this is what the book said. If you go and do a presentation in front of a bunch of Japanese men, they don't want to hear stories. They don't want to hear anecdotes. They want to see bar graphs and charts and statistics and facts. That's all they want. Maybe they want to take pictures of it, I don't know. And other people, if you give them, you know, I've done presentations before and you got the PowerPoint up there and it's got bar graphs on it and you can see people's eyes, they're starting to go like this. Like you lose them because it's so incredibly boring for some people. And those people, sometimes you tell a story and all of a sudden, whoo, you see them wake up. I got a little story here which has to do with this key, this very key. I bought this cheap car, well, close to 10 years ago, and it was about an 8-year-old car at the time. It was, yeah, about an 8-year-old car at the time. Ford Focus, actually. I bought it off a used car lot because I needed a small car. As a commuter, I was driving about 100 kilometers a day at the time. It only came with one key. And the problem with this key is that it was one of those chip keys. So it used to be you could go with an old car, you used to be able to take your key in to Walmart or Canadian Tire or whatever, and for $3.99 you got a new key, a spare key, right? This stupid key, they couldn't make it. It was like $100 at the dealership to get it because it has a chip in it. So I only had this one key for the longest time. And about 8 months after I bought that car, I got a letter in the mail with a note, and it was from the secretary at the dealership that I had bought this thing. It was a used car lot and in the city here. And there was a note in it that said I was cleaning out a section of the dealership offices here, and we found a bunch of these keys, and this key had a tag on it which was identified as belonging to your car. And you know what? I was really impressed. I went back to that dealership, and she put her name and stuff like that on it. I went back to that dealership and I thanked her personally, because not only did it save me $100, and that was the smallest part actually, it was the detail of caring. I mean, I was in the car dealership business, and I'm sad to say that if I had gone through my stack of stuff that it was a mess 8 months later, and I found a key that, you know, God knows who owns it or whatever, even if I did, I might have thrown it in the garbage. I'm sorry to say that, because I didn't have that sense of detail for customer service. But this lady actually sent this back to me, and I will always remember that. It was a Subaru dealership in Saskatoon. So I just, as a shout out, they at the time, that particular individual, I forget her name, and it might have been Donna, amazing sense of customer service. So I'm going to bring that sort of stuff up in the conversation as well. Now, so what I want to do is I want to facilitate a discussion and a question and answer period. And the questions will come from all directions, hopefully, but hopefully they won't just be directed at me. I'll hopefully be able to facilitate. If there's somebody in the room who knows a lot of information about this category of customer service or membership, then maybe I could deflect those questions over to there. But I also have to be prepared. So I will take some time I keep a binder as, well, before a presentation like this, the days and weeks that lead up to it or whatever, I keep something close by that I can write notes on. I've got a cheat sheet here that I write some notes on. Things that I want to bring, things that I want to read, maybe a list of books that I want to bring there and recommend. Just have some information to be able to answer. You see sometimes when you have politicians or salespeople, whatever, who are in a media scrum, right? You can see that they've prepared if they're good at what they do, because you'll see them quickly reference their notes and they're right on point onto what are I think they basically go over what are likely questions that could come up and what are good answers, referenced answers, credible answers. That could be, I mean, I'm not going to associate myself with politicians because usually they're just a sack of lies, but at least they have that. So we can still learn from that even if they are a sack of lies. And I don't want to present a sack of lies, so hopefully I want to present something that actually works and be able to provide and facilitate something that actually works. But that's what I'm going to be doing, and like I say, I will give a little video video reply to this after the presentation to give you an idea how it went. And also I will leave my contact information at the presentation to those who might want to get in contact with me. And if all the people in the event want to keep in touch, I will encourage them to share their contact information with others, because that's also a great way to facilitate a networking habit to get people involved with. Because if people want to learn something and there's a bunch of people who are working together non-competitively, then it creates a great mastermind potential of people to share ideas and to continue the learning process about what they're learning and what's working for each. So that's a project I'm working on. Hopefully this is interesting and valuable and along the lines of the Inner Genie project. Whatever it is we're doing, you know, nobody's probably going to promote us unless we do. So the more we learn about customer service, the more we are going to be well off because of it. Because after all, once again, if we're not going to promote ourselves, nobody else probably is. And so it's important to get on that bandwagon, and it's a little bit uncomfortable at times, tooting our own horns, but hey, you know, who else is going to do it at times? Steve here again, great chatting. Talk again soon, bye.